fancy so. Oh, it's fabulous! A strike to get you up off your seats.
Hello and welcome to Seagulls Social. This is the Newcastle at home match reaction, and today I'm joined by none other than Jack Stevenson / Albion, as you might know him better. How are you, Jack, today,
Government
mate?
name.
Yeah,
You've revealed my government name. I think I've revealed my own. I
think they know by now. To be fair.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I had a little complaint off Mike King today that he has been basically abused by you and Ben within the first 2 minutes of every podcast.
I blame Ben. To be fair, Ben is the main culprit.
Yeah.
I just join in. You know that kid who joins in and laughs.
Yeah,
I'm that guy. Ben's the instigator. Yeah.
So yeah, I was having a good day hanging out with that absolute loser again today. That is Mike King. So
there you go, Mike. See, look, it's not me. I just laugh along. I'm not the one doing all the jokes, mate. So no.
So we'll abuse him a couple of minutes in. Yeah. No, went to the women's game today.
We should make it a weekly ritual. Maybe we can do that. Maybe.
Yeah, no, went to the women's game today, actually. That's something good. We won 4-2 against Arsenal, which is a really, really good result. Wow. Like, Arsenal, big club in the women's game.
The title, weren't they?
Yeah, so it's a really good result. Ended a really good season at home for the women's side. I've still got one more game, but should finish 5th, which is a really good position. So don't talk about the women's game much on here, but there you go. Look, equality for everyone.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. No, fair play. No, Arsenal, like I said, they were challenging for the title, I think, with Chelsea. So yeah, that's a massive result. That. Also, really I had a weekend of football. Obviously, went to a Brighton game, Brighton Newcastle, and also went to Swindon MK Dons. Now, Jack claimed that he went to Shrewsbury Crawley, just for context, and he said it was the worst game he's watched. Now, I will contest that, Jack, live on the pods. Because that was 90 minutes I will never, ever get back. It was just in the air. I mean, the standard of football was absolutely abysmal. So we're very lucky as Brighton fans to be able to watch Brighton play football. Because, trust me, when you watch League 2 football, you do appreciate it more, I think.
I will caveat that I said that at half-time when it was 0-0. But luckily, Shrewsbury got a man sent off. Wasn't it? Yeah, it's 2-1. There was a lot of shenanigans going on if people pay attention to my Instagram. I think the real highlight for me was some Shrewsbury fans singing "You're not fit to wear the shirt" 4 minutes into the game. So and the reason they started singing that seemed to be because their player took a short corner, which I can accept actually. I agree with their views on that. So yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, talking referees, we've got a lot to talk about on that front as well. Yeah. So, without further ado then, should we get into it? So 1-1, Jack. Not a bad result. I think, I know you weren't on the preview, but me and Ben were speaking, and we were very complimentary to Newcastle. We said that they were going to be a really tough side, and to be fair to them, they were very good. They created some chances and gave us a right old game. So, yeah, it was a really, real tough test. But I think in hindsight, I'm happy with the point. I don't know how you feel. I think I'm happy to go out with a draw against them.
Well, like I think before the game we all would have taken a point. I think the way that we lost the point, or we lost the 2 points, will be disappointing to lose it right at the death. But I'm not looking at the performance and saying we played really bad. I think I said it on my Twitter. I just thought we were fine. I thought there was nothing too much to complain about. But at the same time, there was nothing to write home about. I didn't think we were particularly creative or anything. But yeah, I don't know. I think of the 4 games, this was going to be our hardest game. I think Newcastle will be on the beach. Liverpool will be on the beach. So yeah, I think get through this game, didn't lose. I don't think it's the worst result in the world. I think it's just a bit frustrating when you see obviously Brentford got a result, Bournemouth got a result, which I think was. I don't think that goal should have stood. If Matomas didn't stand against Aston Villa, or was it a Dingra or whatever, then why is that Bournemouth? It came off his elbow. But anyway, alas, we carry on. So I think that's kind of a summary from that point. So yeah, I think that was a decent point.
Yeah, no, I think that's how I felt going into it. I was really optimistic. I was like, you know what, we can really take the game to them. And obviously, starting off the game, now I want to talk about Weaver, because obviously Weaver was still at right back, and I thought I thought he really struggled in that, especially in the first sort of 15, 20 minutes. I think they really targeted him, in my opinion anyway. I think they really targeted him. I thought he was getting run out a lot. I think he struggled. He was lucky to stay on the pitch, to be honest with you. That tackle on Tonali in the second half. I saw literally Hurzeler sitting in West Lower, obviously quite close to Hurzeler. You could see him straight. As soon as that tackle went in, he grabbed Lamptey. He was like, get on.
I was trying to do that with I think from West Stand Upper as soon as I was just like, right, get him off now.
Yeah. I thought he was so lucky. But yeah, in my opinion, I think for me, they targeted him, in my opinion. I think they really went at him. Yeah. I think there was a couple of chances where one was the Willock one that went over the bar, and then there was the other one where Harvey Barnes ran in behind as well. And I think, it was another chance. And they both came from their left-hand side. So I just think they really targeted Weaver on the right-hand side. Not to say he was shocking, and he actually improved as the game went on. But, I think they really targeted that early on. And, I don't know what you think about their sort of game plan early on, Jack, with Newcastle.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I was going to say, what started off the afternoon for me was when the team came out. And I think that was a little bit of it sort of blew the wind out of the sails a bit. You saw no Matoma. I think, I'm getting so frustrated with the injuries now. I'm not blaming one particular factor, but, I think somebody replied to one of my tweets, and we've got the second highest, the highest amount of injuries, like almost double everyone else. It's the amount of days we've lost to injury are insane, and there doesn't seem to be a common denominator. But for me, it's too high just to be luck. I'm not pointing finger at anything, and I'm sure the club are aware of it as well. But it certainly is like strange how high, and I think there's got to be something to it. Now, I mean, it could be something as stupid as maybe I think the training intensity is higher. I think that's probably. I
think Hurzeler's come out and said that, hasn't he? He said that
he has said that.
He's quite intense with training.
But that still doesn't explain like how much higher than everyone else.
No, of course, the volume of injuries, yeah.
I think, there's even like stupid theories like, is it the training pitch? Like, is it the actual pitch that we're training on? Is it the Amex pitch? I mean, these don't make any sense, of course, but I do think there's something to it, and I do think it's worth sort of them having like a deep dive into it. I don't know what can be done, but yeah, it's so frustrating basically that we're having players who sort of disappear from a Friday to a Sunday. We've had a press conference on Friday, everyone's fit, to Sunday, Matoma isn't fit now. It's so frustrating because a player like Matoma is so integral to how we play, and I thought Adingra was fine, but he didn't have the greatest game again. So yeah, it's for me, I think it's the frustration. Like, I want to have a solid team and play every game, and yeah, I don't know. I think it's worth looking for a bit of a deep dive over the summer, because as much as Hurzeler say his training is more intense and the players have to get used to it, it's been almost a year now, so we can't just be looking at that as the problem. So yeah, sorry, but I just completely skirted over the Weaver thing there, completely. But
that's all right.
Yeah, no, that was my frustration at the beginning of the afternoon.
No, and do you know what my biggest thing was as well with the Matoma absence was like the lack of attacking options we had on the bench. So obviously, Gruder came on in the end, and we're going to talk about his cross because it was fantastic. But attacking options, obviously, with Welbeck being the only striker, we had no recognised striker on the bench. And then, no wingers coming on. I think Lamptey ended up playing right wing because when Veltman came on, he went right back. And that was the frustration for me. Is like, we just don't have that. We've got squad depth. We've got so many squad players. But then when it comes to, let's say, Matoma being out injured, then you don't have anyone backing him up if Adingra doesn't have a good game or whatever it might be. So, I think that was my biggest frustration. And I agree. Like, looking at that starting lineup, I was like, what? How have we gone from, like you said, on Friday, Hurzeler saying got a fully fit squad, to then Sunday, missing Matoma? It just didn't make any sense to me. And it's weird how that's happened a few times this season. I don't know if that's a communication thing, if that's a thing of protecting the players. I don't know the sort of the reason behind it, but there's no real transparency throughout the season. And I think that's frustrating as fans, because we're like, well, where are they? What's happened to them in the space of 2 days?
You were fine last week. You were fine like 3 days ago. What the hell's happened now?
Yeah.
It's bizarre. It's interesting you say about the depth there, because you've obviously got great depth up front, and I think we've bemoaned the lack of depth in defence. And suddenly, the amount of depth we had in defence on Sunday meant that Cashin didn't even get in the squad. So it does seem that the teams are so inconsistent, and I think you've got to give. This is where we've got to kind of give Hurzeler a little bit of credit across the whole season in the fact that he's had to deal with all this chopping and changing, which has not really been down to his fault, really. Frustrating one there. And then, of course, Weaver starting at right back. I actually thought he had a good game, to be honest, but I think it was definitely time to call time on him when he almost got sent off, and I think he was a bit of a lucky boy on that one.
I think that was a straight yellow card. I just don't know how the referee... Yeah. The referee was just a shambles.
The referee was shit. The referee was shit all round. I mean, it's...
Yeah.
For both teams, to be honest. Fouls. Yeah, I think there were some fouls where I was genuinely in astoundment that they weren't given. I think it was just before half-time. Carlos Baliba just took out one of their players on the right wing, just completely off the ball, and the ref just waved play on. It's like, well... All right, we'll just carry on then, and that's fine. So, yeah, I thought it was a really, really poor game for Pawson, but I'm sure we'll get into that more deep. But, yeah, I think UEFA did all right. And it's interesting, though, isn't it, with UEFA? Because I think a lot of people have bemoaned that the manager hasn't used the new signings and hasn't given them a run of games. But UEFA's had a good run of games now, and he's starting to improve, to me personally, every game. So I would like to see him pushed up into midfield and looking with Veltman and Lamptey back on Sunday. It might be time for him to be pushed into midfield. So that'll be good to see.
No, definitely. I think the massive positives for me was seeing Lamptey and Veltman back. That was a huge boost. I think, like you said, going into the next game, having those options now defensively allows us then to make those changes in the midfield and the forward position. So yeah, I'm really, really glad they came back. So yeah, so it was a bit of a. I think it was quite an even first sort of half an hour or so. I think maybe, in my opinion, Newcastle edged it just slightly. If you wanted to sort of go by chances or chances created. However, then a moment of magic from Minter, and it was a great goal in the end. At first, I thought he was going to do his usual, too much and then not strike it or whatever. But he ended up getting the ball, little jink, and a fantastic finish. And credit to him because we've always said that we want to see that end product from him, and it was a great goal, wasn't it, Jack?
Yeah, it's a fantastic goal, and I think Minter. I mean, somebody on Twitter today was saying that he's absolutely useless. I mean, I'm not sure where that came from, but I thought he had a fantastic game yesterday.
Standard Twitter,
standard Twitter. Man of the match performance from him yesterday. I don't know whether he was like a man unhinged. I don't really know what was going on with the celebration. Everybody's. Yeah. I mean, that's probably something worth talking about.
My interpretation of it was that he basically, at first, he was doing the whole praying thing, like saying sorry, like when they don't want to celebrate. And then, this is my theory, I don't know if this is 100% correct or not, but I think then he got abused by the Newcastle fans and then started going, okay, well, fuck you guys, this is my home, I'm Brighton, and then started grabbing his badge. That was my interpretation of it. In the moment, I'll be honest, I didn't know. It was only until I watched the replays. But yeah, watching the replays, that's how it looked to me. I don't know how you interpreted it.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to have interpreted it very differently, and especially on Twitter, like getting a lot of things.
I've seen it went viral. A lot of accounts tweeted it, even non-Brighton fans.
Interpret that at all, and even watching it back, and I think I was an Everton fan talking about it more than anything. And I don't think that was the indication at all. He seemed to say, this is where I am now. I don't know. It's a bit of a weird celebration anyway. It could be interpreted however it wants.
Yeah, it was odd. Like, even for me, the Geezers played no games in Newcastle. I don't know why you're apologising. Yeah. Like, you've never played for them. I can understand if you're like a club legend or something, but he's played 0 games for them. I know it's the whole PSR thing and he had to go, but it was a bit odd all round, really.
I don't get the whole not celebrating unless you're like someone like Frank Lampard, because I remember he scored against Chelsea for City, didn't he? I can understand not celebrating then.
Yeah, 100%.
Because, or like boyhood club or something, but the whole thing with him was a bit odd, wasn't it? So I don't know what the hell that was all about. But great finish. He scores, and then we sort of in the ascendancy a bit, and I think we did fine for the rest of the second half. We could have gone further in front, really, couldn't we? And from my memories, and I think we just dominated. It wasn't the greatest game of football I've watched in a long time, but it was fine. Yeah, it's better than Shrewsbury Crawley Town.
Better than MK on Swindon anyway. But no, you're right. I think after that game, I did turn around to my mate though, and I said, at 1-0, I'm not confident. Even if we go into half time, 1-0 up, just the way we've been playing recently and how, especially knowing the attacking threats that Newcastle had. Especially, I was really impressed with the forward running of Barnes and even Willock at times. I know he didn't actually have a great game, to be honest. But going forward, they did have those sparks of moment, and that worried me. So I was like, okay, this game's nowhere near done. Like, even being 1-0 up, we're not looking comfortable, so to speak.
Definitely.
Yeah, but I agree with you. Going into half time, we were definitely in the ascendancy after that Minter goal. And then, into the second half, Jack, a lot went on, a lot of VAR decisions. So let's talk about those. It's like the referee wanted a penalty. Like, I think he was like, right, my mission, either he's put a gamble on, or he's like, do you know what? I need to get my stats up for penalties given because he made hell-bent to give Newcastle a decision. So first one, I believe, is the Lamptey one. Was it the Lamptey on Gordon?
Yeah, Lamptey one that was outside the area.
Yeah, so definitely a foul, but it was outside the box.
Foul,
and again, thank God VAR exists because otherwise we would be given a penalty that was outside of the box.
And I can I have a little bit of sympathy with the referee because I don't think his angle was very good, but also at the same time it was quite obviously outside the box. I do think you're right in what you were saying, like, and this isn't to say the referee was particularly biased, but it really did seem like he wanted to give him one. He really wanted to give him one for something, and it just seemed to go on and on and on. It was penalty after penalty after penalty, and it was just getting a bit strange at times. And then I think that's a mistake that can be made, and that's why VAR is there. You know, it was outside the area. That's the sort of decision you want to see given and overturned when it's shown, and you can see it's just outside, and it is what it is. And then the second one, that's just pathetic from the referee. You could see from where I was standing in West Stand Upper, that wasn't a penalty. It was quite clearly a dive. Van Heck won the ball. He threw himself to the floor. You know, he'd fallen before he'd even get to the ball. I just thought that was terrible refereeing, and it was, you know. They're the big frustration I have here, which I think you're about to get to, is he was so quick to give them a penalty. Yet when there was if there was a situation like Matt O'Reilly penalty was given in real time, I doubt they overturn it.
Mate, apparently though the O'Reilly, I was literally going to get onto that the O'Reilly one because I'm pretty sure, and I could be wrong here, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they didn't even check the O'Reilly one. They didn't even go to VAR for it.
They did check. Because he walked around in the centre for a bit and then did the whole goal kick.
Okay.
So it was, they did have a look, but yeah, it was.
But how have you watched that? I've watched the replays now a few times because obviously in real time, it was quite quick. It happened quite quickly. And I just saw him go down. But I've watched the replays now a good fair few times, and Tonali's just booted his leg, and I'm like, how have they watched that in Stockley Park and gone no penalty? It really baffles my brain. Like, for me, it all stems down to consistency, and we've said it all season. It's just consistency. Like, throughout the whole game, for both teams, he was giving some awful decisions. And, like, aside from this game, if you look at throughout the season, referees, it seems like everyone's on a different page. They're not. It's like they've all been given a different manual book to go by, and it's like, right, you can have this one, you can have that one, you can have this one. Right, you all got different rules to play by, and it just feels like there's no cohesion and consistency with referees, and that's my biggest frustration as a fan because some of the decisions have been bizarre.
Yeah, and I think like the consistency stuff is what really gets into it. You know, like you said, there's different rule books. They're doing one, and you know why is he giving 3 penalties for Newcastle? Not even thinking giving them for 1. I think my frustration is sometimes what they check, because sometimes they just don't check stuff. And yeah, I do get a bit sort of puzzled by it all, but. It's annoying because that would have been 1-0 and then 2-0 up, and I think the game becomes very different. Although we don't seem to really like 2-0 this year, do we? So
no,
maybe we'd absolutely bottle it. I don't know,
it was very precarious at 1-0 anyway. And then we discussed the UEFA one as well. Like I think talking of refereeing decisions, I think he got that wrong. I think as a Brighton fan, I can sit here and happily admit that it was a clear yellow card. He's caught him on the ankle. It was a clear yellow and. Yeah, I mean, we were very lucky to get that. And Herzler clocked it then straight away.
I think what has saved Weaver there is he does touch the ball first. Admittedly, he's got in with a lot of, I think it's a lot of power, but he does touch the ball first. So I think that's probably saved him from the referee's perspective. So yeah, that one was, I think we discussed that earlier, but it was, I think we're lucky to get away with that. And then I think, they got their penalty eventually. A lot of people very angry at Ayari for that. They've just blasted the ball at the wall and he's sort of not really looked at the ball and it's hit his arm. And that when you've got a free kick that close, that's the best thing you can do. Like, you're not going to be able to give that to Trippier and get it up and over. So you've just got to blast it. And it's a shame really for Bruggen because he made an unbelievable save just after that was...
I was about to say, that was mental.
After that was done.
He actually pulled off a few good saves, to be fair to him. I was actually really impressed with him, considering how much stick I personally have given him, and also quite a lot of Brighton fans have been giving him. I thought, he was really, really good between the sticks yesterday. Yesterday. No, sir.
It was yesterday.
My brain. He was fantastic, I thought, and it's great. I think it's great for him as well because maybe his confidence might have been knocked a few times, especially with the goal against West Ham when it went through his legs, and then he's had a few clangers. But it was great to see him on top form yesterday. So I'm glad he came through that. But yeah, I mean, Isak penalty. I mean, he was never going to miss, was he? He was probably overthinking it. To be fair to him, he was about to step up 3 times, and then it was only the once.
Yeah.
In the end. So it was a good finish from him.
The only frustration I have with Bart, and I don't think he's the only person who does this, is his penalty saving technique is not good.
Is it right? He's only saved 1 penalty in his career, and that was for Holland.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, and
which is
and at the end of the day, the odds are always going to be in favour of the attacker, and I'm not expecting him to save every penalty, but it does seem like this tactic that a lot of goalkeepers have. David Raya does the same thing of diving out the way of penalty. I think there needs to be a rethink in the goalkeeping world. But like I said, I don't think that's a Bar only problem, and I'm not expecting him to save penalties. We should not be giving them away to not give it. So it was annoying. It is what it is.
Like you said with the Ayari thing, it does feel stupid. It was one of those frustrating moments where you're like, oh, for God's sake, such a soft penalty. But I agree with you. What's the guy meant to do when the ball's been blasted at him from quite close? So it was just one of those. You just sort of sit there and you just sigh and you're like, oh, for God's sake, you're gonna have to take it on the chin. It's one of those decisions where it was a penalty and just frustrating as a fan because you're like, we were so close. But then talking of being close, Jack, right at the death, we had a free kick. Ruda and Gomez, both substitutes, coming on and linking up. And I'm going to say how it is. He should be burying that. I'm sorry, but he's got that completely wrong. It was a fantastic ball. When I saw it in real time, I was like, wow, that is an absolute ball. It was just pretty much a free header. And he just put it wide. It was just, I don't really know what to say about it, really, because it was just a big, big chance that we spurned right at the death.
Yeah, and frustrating again, another young player, isn't it? He's just sort of done something that he shouldn't have done with a little bit of consistency and just kind of let us down a little bit there. Yeah, Diego, it's just a miss, isn't it? It's just a miss. It's always going to be a miss, and it's a hard one to take, but we've got to move on and pick ourselves up for the next game. And it would have been a lovely opportunity to sort of just after the penalty heartache to get the winner there, and that would have really exploded the game. And it was but we had that last week, so we can't get it all, can we? We can't have it all every game, can we? So gutting that was.
No, it was. And also as well, I think it would have done his and Gruder's because Gruder obviously coming back off the back of technically 2 assists off the West Ham game to get third in 2. That would have been amazing for him. And also, he could have then gone to Herzog and asked questions about, look, there's a spot for me up there. Get me in. Whether it be a Riley spot, whether it be out wide for a Dingra. He could have posed those questions, and I still think he can ask those questions because he has been looking pretty good recently. But that would have really solidified him, and he was fuming as well. The fact that Gomez missed, so it shows that he's very much got that mentality of just wanting to win, and then he looks really disappointed walking off as well.
Yeah. And then straight up the other end, we almost concede. So it was a bit of an end-to-end stoppage time.
Yeah.
And for Bruggen, all credit to him. That was an amazing save off one of our
Wilson.
old enemies. Callum Wilson. I think that man seems to have scored against us every waking moment of my life.
I remember when he came on, I was just thinking of you. I could just imagine you saying, "Oh, for God's sake, Wilson's coming on." Yeah. I just had that. I think in my head.
He must be up there with one of the goal scorers who scored the most against us at the Amex. I think the record of the player who scored the most goals at the Amex as an opposition player is Chris Martin of Derby. I'm pretty sure that's I think I remember seeing that stat.
Yeah.
So
what a player! What a player to have that record.
Yeah. What a player! He always used to score a bloody Amex. It was like an old enemy. But no, we saved really well, and then we just sort of saw the game out. And do you know what? I think just looking at the game as a whole, I didn't leave that disappointed. I think I was quite surprised to see the reaction of everybody on Twitter. People going for the manager again, people going for members of the team. We're crap. We only have 2 points. I think 1-1 against a team chasing Champions League is a pretty respectable result. And, yeah, all the games at this part of the season are going to look really difficult, and they're going to look like they're big. Oh, Europe, so not to do the whole "it's so over," we're back again. But people just need to keep their heads around this time, because I remember when we got Europe, people were unable to keep their heads in that time, and it was just like, yeah, we've got to just relax ourselves a little bit, don't we? Like, we don't need to just completely lose our heads at this stage. Concentrate on the next one. It's a good point. Move on. I don't know. I think our fan base is really struggling to sort of deal with their own emotions at the moment, massively, or from all quarters.
No, 100%. Yeah. I remember when I said before before the Newcastle, the West Ham match reaction. I said, didn't I? I think me and you agreed, and Ben was like, "No, we need Europe," and I was like, "I don't actually mind if we don't get Europe," and I still stand by that. I think even if we don't qualify for Europe, I've got such high hopes for next season. I was thinking about, I was speaking to my mates yesterday about it, and I was like, we've got such a great nucleus of the squad. If we can keep the majority of the players, barring maybe a loss.
That's the big one. That's the big thing.
Yeah,
that's the big thing. Keeping players.
Yeah, of course. But look, let's be realistic. Either, in my opinion, João Pedro, a Matoma, maybe a Baleba might leave. I think we have to accept that. I think one of our sort of star players is inevitably going to leave. Whether it's this season coming or in January or next season, it's going to happen at some point. So it's about how we recruit.
For me, that player leaves whether we get Europe or not.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, especially Conference League. Like, respectfully, no one's going to be like, right, lads, Conference League, let's go. Like, I'm going to stick about now because we've got Conference League. Respectfully, they're not going to do that. So, no, I'm with you 100%. In my opinion, it's not the end of the world. Even if we don't finish 8th and, Palace win the FA Cup, wherever it might be, I genuinely don't care because, well, if Palace do win the FA Cup, I do care. But, yeah, it's one of those... yeah, we don't speak about that. No, we don't want that happening. But what I'm saying is, in terms of us reaching Europe, forget what Palace do, forget what anyone else does. I think it's not the end of the world if we don't get Europe, because I think we've still got a fantastic squad, again, albeit if we keep the nucleus of the squad, and we can get a few defenders in, and I genuinely believe that we can kick on next season and have a really, really productive season, because, I think we've got it in us. Yeah, I think we've got it in us. It's just, injuries have played a big part. A manager coming in for his first season in the Premier League, super young, adjusting to life in the Premier League. He's had some fantastic results, some really poor results, but I just think, all in all, I think it's been fine, and it's always going to be a transitionary season.
Do you know, that's the interesting thing when I just said it when my post match read, I just went, it's fine. Today, yesterday was fine. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad. I do kind of agree with you in a way. I don't think we should be getting rid of Hersler. I don't think we should. But at the same time, if they choose to, it again doesn't bother me. But I think we've got to sort of manage expectations a little bit and manage sort of what we want to get out of the club and the way that we're building. Now, I think a lot of the problems that people are pointing their fingers at aren't necessarily to be pointed at Hersler. If you're angry that, that the injuries that happened, that's probably this mysterious thing that I can't work out what it is. If you don't think we've strengthened enough in defence, that's you've got to point at the director of football. If you don't think the style of play has been amazing, I think that's completely fair. Then you can point your finger at the manager, and we've maybe dropped points in some games, but that's also down to the players as well. And I do think we're very much a club who's very focused on, we love our players, we love the personality of the players, and the club are very good at sort of breaking down those barriers between players and fans, and we really get along. Jorginho, for example, everybody loves Jorginho. You couldn't say a bad word, and I think they've struggled to do that with this manager for a few reasons. I don't think he's as charismatic as De Zerbi. I don't think that matters to me personally, and I don't think it should, because if he gets a point. So people are very hesitant to blame the players for anything, whereas people are very insistent on blaming the manager. And
it's like the Gordon Ramsay meme, isn't it? When he's like, you donkey.
Yeah.
Oh, you sweet.
Yeah, and it's sort of like, I think people struggle with these people that they idolise to sort of be angry at them and the manager. And I think that's good. That's good. If the manager's making a thing which takes the pressure off the players and you can sort of hide it behind that, then that's fine. And I think he said it in a press conference recently, don't blame the players, blame me. which I thought was really interesting sort of thing. And I think he's mature enough and probably old enough to sort of take that on board and be want to take the factor on, because I think one of my complaints with him after the Brentford game, and I wasn't happy after the Brentford game, and he has sort of grown on me a little bit. And look, I'm as fickle as anyone else. I'm not going to pretend like I'm got this amazing sort of attitude. But I think one of my big issues was he said he wanted a reaction from the players, and that's putting very much the pressure on them. But then after that, he sort of said, right, okay, we'll put the pressure on me to make these players perform, because that is his job. And he sort of quietly got along with it over the last few weeks. We haven't seen much from the players. He hasn't done anything stupid like let them go on holiday for a week, which I think in hindsight maybe wasn't the best plan that he's ever had, to let them go on holiday. I think it's interesting, and maybe he is very much worth another summer and to get in a few more reinforcements for him. I think he needs to get a lot more of the senior players on side. I think a couple of better options in places and some people off the bench, and there's no reason why we can't be really good next season. But I think we've got to just focus on these 3 games and see where it takes us, and then sort of deal with it at the end.
Yeah, talking of, you mentioned style of play, and that got me thinking. Obviously, look, I know he had time to implement that over the summer and throughout the season, but this summer, I think this summer would be great for him to implement a style of play, have a system in place where he's like, right, this season, this is how we're going to play. This is our identity. This is how we're going to set up. This is the tactics. This is what, these are the players I want to fit that system, and get them in during the summer. And then he's got no excuses. No one can be like, oh, okay, it was this, it was that, it was this. Like, for me, going into next season, he's got no excuses, in my opinion. I think, unless barring like a mass injury crisis, hits the squad or something like that, I think then there's no excuses for him to get the best out of the squad. And what that is, that's another question. What is the target for next season? Because I think Bloom came out at the beginning of the season, didn't he? And he said he is looking to get us European football. So what is the next? What is it? Is it Champions League? Is it Europa League? Is it Conference League? Like, what is the aim next season? That would be interesting to know what his expectations are as well.
I think what the aim will be, it'll be similar to this season where it's aimed for Europe, and I think next season there'll be a bit more of an expectation to achieve Europe, more so than this, where it was more of a ambition. Whereas next season will probably be we want Europe. For me, I think on the style of play, I think we have seen parts of Özil's style of play. And we've seen like glimpses of it. And I think we saw some glimpses of it yesterday, in that, there's lots of high pressure, high running, chasing down players and putting pressure on them to make a mistake. And with a high line, of course. And I do think there's some pitfalls to it. I do think yesterday, again, midfield, so poor in transition, ball over the top again, out wide. It was just sort of like, everybody's desperately running to get back. That's fine if you have the personnel to do it. And two centre-backs of Duncan Van Heck are not those two to do that. And I think he'll understand that. And I think maybe even possibly a back three with maybe a full-back playing one of those more wide roles is good for that. And I still don't think he's been quite backed in the transfer market to implement that style. And I do think, number one, first thing we need to do is we need to go out and get a young centre-back who's capable of playing that system. And, that is sort of and I think a lot of my frustrations with the transfers, I don't know when it's ever worked when the club just buy players for the manager. And the same goes for Robert De Zerbi at times. But then also some players who the manager brings in are bad. But, if you want someone to play a style, you can't just expect them to make magic with the players that they have given to them. And I do think, I've been discussing it today weirdly quite a lot on Twitter, and I do think Cashin I feel really bad for Cashin because I don't want to feel like we're slating him. But it's quite obvious that the manager doesn't really fancy him, maybe. Or maybe he wasn't 100%. Needed, I don't know. And
I think it was a bit of a legacy target, wasn't he? Like, he was identified about a year and a half ago, and then they're like, do you know what, he's available, let's just grab him.
I mean, there's lots of theories behind why we went for him, and I don't think many of them make a lot of sense, to be honest. But it's even ones which do have a certain amount of logic applied to them. And look, I'm not writing him off. He could have a great pre-season and come in next season. There's no doubt in my mind about that. But I do think Özil's had a bit of an interesting sort of thing to deal with. I mean, the injuries mean that he can't really implement it. at all at any point. Igor and Van Heck were a good little pairing at one point. I remember when we were doing really well. I think it was against City and Newcastle, and that was a really good pairing together. So, yeah, there's always that option sort of to play. And there may be on a slightly more younger, fitter side of centre-backs. Webster did really well when he came in. That was another, great addition to the team. So I do think he's had to sort of change little bits here and there. And, of course, Jack having to go to right back and Weaver at right back and everybody. So there's so much going on that I think he's had a lot to deal with. And I do think, in the views of some people, he just can't do anything right. And I do think we need to give him a bit of leeway for a little bit of time because, I don't think there's this magic manager out there who's going to change everything. If we sack Hersler, we're going to suddenly... The only reason I see Hersler going, and I mentioned this before, is if someone like Emery, it's not Emery, but an Emery level manager who's got a known track record, became
a proven winner.
Yeah, and I think if that sort of manager was available, I don't think Hersler would be here very long. And I think Bloom would go out and get that manager straight away if he knew that was the one. I don't think a lot of the names which I see floated about, I don't see them as being particular improvement. Kieran McKenna, Liam Rosenior. I think Rosenior is doing great in France, but we're not getting him. He's contracted to a Chelsea-owned club. He's not coming here now. I think that's quite obvious, or it's going to cost us a lot of money, and that's not how we operate in any way whatsoever. If he wants to run down his contract or leave for his own accord, then I'm sure he would, and I think we missed our chance to get him in the summer. So we need to forget Rosenior. I mean, I don't, forget whatever's going on with him, because people become a little bit, dare I say, a little bit obsessed with Liam Rosenior. And we just need to focus on the manager here for now and support him. And as much as you don't like him because he's not passionate, it's a two-way thing. You've got to give him some if he wants to give you some.
Well, I'll be honest. I think he does show passion, just in a different way. Like, he's super animated on the touchline. He's super angry when things don't go his way. Like, to me, that does show passion. Just maybe not the way you're used to, or it's not maybe a very British way of showing passion, or how it's sort of like accustomed to British fans. So I don't think he's a sort of like a soulless, lifeless manager who doesn't really do much. Like, there have been moments though where he hasn't really shown emotion or whatever, but I think he definitely has at points as well.
I think my frustrations with him, and I've had frustrations with him this season. I don't think, I've never gone to like fully out, but there's been moments where I've definitely said, is this man the right man for the job? Which I think was Brentford and Forest, and I think those were footballing reasons mainly, rather than this whole passion thing. And, when we consistently had a great atmosphere and the place was rocking every single game, was when we arguably had one of the most dour managers we've ever had in Chris Hughton. So it isn't just something special that's going to open it all up. And I do think De Zerbi sort of formed a cult around him as he left. And fair play, like, that's his obviously style, and he's a charismatic man and I love him forever. But it's time to move on and look into the age of Hersler and look into whatever we're doing next. And I can't believe I've done a full switch up on this since the Brentford game. But I think, a win and a point, a little bit of an unbeaten spell, that does a lot for confidence. And that is the reaction I wanted to see.
I think, talking of consistency, that's another thing I want to see as well. It's just for us to be consistent. I think that's been my biggest frustration this season, is the lack of consistency. We'll go, we had that great 5-6 game winning run. Then we went on like a 4-game losing streak. Then, we're back to having a win and a draw. And it's just like, I just want consistency. Whether it's, I'm not saying we need to win every game or, go on like a 15-game unbeaten streak. But I just don't want us to go like flip-flapping into, the pit of just depression of like losing 5 games and then having a great little high of 6 games winning streak. I just want us to be consistent throughout the season and just, show some consistency, because it's, at times it has just been very frustrating, because you're like, well, 1 minute we're doing all right, 1 minute we're absolutely terrible, 1 minute we're going to Europe, 1 minute we're going to get relegated, and it's like, just give us some consistency. That's all I ask for.
Give us, and I do think like the options are sort of running out this part of the season. Look, I love Danny Welbeck. I've got enough bloody flags. I've made a Danny Welbeck face, etc. And, Danny Welbeck stickers on every bus stop in Brighton. But, I think yesterday, Danny didn't have the greatest game yesterday. He looked tired at times. he wasn't probably putting in. But we didn't have anybody else on the bench. There was nobody else
No,
available
that's the issue.
to play his position. And I think he's had.
I've seen loads of people saying Solis, the Greek guy that we're getting in the summer, is the answer. I'm like, the guy's early 20s. He's played in the German second division. He's not the answer. I'm sorry, he's not the answer. He might be a good squad player, and he might surprise me, but I don't think he's the answer.
Well, he's injured at the moment, so he should fit in perfectly. So, no, I think that's who we're putting our hopes on to sort of be a young Danny Welbeck now. I don't really know what's going on with Evan Ferguson, but his performances for West Ham, and look, and another thing I'll just switch up on, I'll fully admit, I was a massive advocate for keeping Evan Ferguson. I do think he could have played a part for the rest of the season, but he's definitely not done it at West Ham. He's definitely not shown that he's any useful. And it'll be a real interesting thing to see what happens with him next season, because he won't be staying at West Ham by the looks of it. They won't be paying the money for him. Will he be staying at Brighton? I don't know. Is there even a place for him with Solis coming in?
Well, even Jack,
Solis is another guy, isn't he?
No,
Solis is another guy we're looking at.
Tismas is the one we've got. Yeah.
Tismas, yeah.
Solis is the one who plays. He played for Bruges, Club Bruges.
Yeah.
I watched him score a hat-trick, actually. Yeah. But just quickly, actually, Jack. Just quickly on those loans out. Obviously, Enciso's now doing really well for Ipswich. Bonanotti's had a good season. Not for you. You don't think he's been good?
No, I'm not interested in Enciso. No, I just don't. I think this.
You don't think he's got a spot next season?
Not for me. He's come in and he's provided two goals.
Yeah, but mate, Ipswich are terrible though.
Ipswich are terrible, but also his goals are pot shots. Like, they are pot shots.
Yeah, he does love a pot shot.
I don't think Julio. I take him because it's another option, and he can provide moments of magic, and he does sort of bring the team up a little bit. I'm a bit 50-50 on Julio. I think Facundo was one which we can definitely use. With whatever happens with Pedro, I don't. His future does seem a little bit up in the air, doesn't it? But apparently he's not on Liverpool's shortlist, so maybe he won't be going there. And I do think.
His attitude isn't the best. Maybe that's what's putting people off. He has been very petulant at times.
Why would Liverpool spend £100 million on a player that so far on both seasons? Like, let's not lie about this. He's been injured for periods. Why would Liverpool spend £100 million on a player who isn't going to be fit for large periods and does have a discipline issue, which could potentially lead to him being...
They've already got Diogo Jota and not Nunes for that, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And to be fair to Pedro, I don't think it's an attitude thing. I think it's just like a discipline thing. I think his attitude always looks top. Like, especially since the cup final,
you're right.
Really, he seems to almost be playing a leadership role. But I think, like, his discipline is definitely something, and his injury record. Like, he does get injured a fair bit, so it'll be interesting to sort of see what Pedro. But if Pedro goes, I think Buonanotte can come into that role, or maybe he can drop down to an 8, more of a McAllister style role. He was billed as when he came in under. When we first brought him in as a McAllister replacement. So I'm really looking forward to Buonanotte coming back. I think Julio's mind isn't here. I think it does seem that he's thinks he's a lot better than he am. There's been constant quoting of him wanting to move on. And look, I think he's a great player, but whether his mind's fully on Brighton Hove Albion is another question. I can see him going somewhere in abroad, to Spain or Italy, and maybe that'll suit his game a lot better. But there's some players that
go to Spain.
And look, I mean, Anthony was crap in this country. Like, he was crap. He just seemed to be like a dog chasing its tail half the time on the pitch and do that stupid thing with the ball. But he went to Spain and he became a much better player. And I think even if he came back now, he wouldn't perform Anthony. So I think he's better off staying in Spain. And I think Julio could very much fit that mould. But like I say, sorry not to be too negative, but yeah, Buonanotte coming back in, I think he'll be really, really good. I think Ruud van Nistelrooy clearly doesn't have a clue what's going on at Leicester. Emphasised by his result and miraculously getting a point against Dr. Brighton. But it's
2 points.
I think Buonanotte
against Dr. Brighton.
Yeah. And there's other options out on loan. There's stuff that we can bring in. We've got players out abroad. It's hard to see what it'll be. Another interesting summer, that's for sure. Just hope.
I think we've got loads of loan players coming back. It's going to be a great. I think it's going to be, depending on how we sort of play it, I think it could be a really good window for us. Especially, I agree with you. I think number one priority, centre back, get a centre back in, get another full back in. I think that's really key because I think, that's been a problem area for us. And I think we need a striker. I desperately think we need someone. If Welbeck's not fit or he's, he digresses throughout the summer and, early part of next season, it's like, who then do we look to get goals? And we don't have one right now. So
I think a front line of the three of Welbeck, Sismas and Ferguson would be a great free options to have. But the futures of definitely one of them is very much a question, a massive question mark over them. But it will make our keep-sell thing that we always do at the end of every season very interesting.
Yes, I can't wait for that. We're definitely going to bring that back. And on that note, Jack, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate, as always. Yeah. And I think to recap really on the Newcastle game, I think it was for me personally, I think it was a good point. Like you said, Champions League chasing Newcastle, they're very well in the mix to get a Champions League spot. So there's no shame in getting a draw against them. And I think the way the game went, I think sort of it was a very even game in that respect. So I think both sides could have won it. Both sides had chances to win it.
I do think like it's got to be tandemed for that to be a really good result. It's got to be tandem with the last three games being wins really. And I don't think they're not winnable. Like I think they're winnable games. And we are really getting into the spell now and into the reason where really it is Europe or bust. It is win the game or bust. And if we don't get Europe, we don't get Europe. We're just going to go again next season. Like, there doesn't have to be this hounding of the manager that we didn't get Europe. And if we didn't get Europe, we're just going to have to go again because I don't think another upheaval in the summer is going to make anything better.
No.
Because
no, exactly. We need a nice consistency now. Like, just
we're not going to go and have a mad summer. There'll be lots of players coming back from injury. Hopefully we get to the bottom of what's ever causing all these injuries because it is starting to take a biscuit now. And luck's not an excuse anymore for me. I think we've got to focus on it because it's affecting our season so much. And win these next three games, and we could be having 10p pints in Romania before you know it. And if we're not, we'll be having £7.50 pints probably in a shit sort of like Green King in the middle of in Shrewsbury in the League Cup second round. So there you go. So.
Yeah, we've got that to look forward to. Amazing. Well, listen, thank you everyone for listening, for tuning in, how you're consuming this, whether it's on audio platforms or YouTube. Thank you so much. And
I was going to shout out something.
Oh, go on, mate.
Shout out something quickly. Archie, who I know from Brighton, is walking to Tottenham of the last game of the season for charity. Drop him. He's got like a page and everything. Archie White. He's on Twitter, I think. So he's walking with 4 other people, something like that. I'm doing really well here. Dropping some money. It's for a really good cause. And I thought I'd give him a shout out. He's walking a lot further than I will. Hopefully he makes a stop at Miller's on the way there to see me like 5 pints deep on the way to Tottenham talking shit. And if you didn't get tickets, for the Brighton fan event at before the Tottenham away game, I'm running my own fan event in Miller's pub where you can listen to me talk shit after 5 Guinnesses and it's completely free. That's a joke. Don't come find me. Don't come find me.
Oh, right. I thought that was a genuine thing then, and you just dropped it on us. But
no.
Don't do that then, in that case. But no, Archie White, shout out to you, mate. Shout out to Archie White. Yeah. And go support his cause if you can donate. That would be great. So, guys, thank you so much.
Big Brighton fan. Yeah.
Shout out to Archie. Shout out to Jack. Shout out to everyone watching and listening. And we shall see you for the Wolves preview. Peace out.